In this video, I'm going to share with you the project proposal template that I use to secure web design projects at $5,000 plus. In my first couple of years as a freelance graphic designer, I never once sent out a project proposal to clients. But when I made the shift in my business to specialize in web design and started pitching projects and sending out proper proposals, almost overnight, I went from struggling to book clients at $500 to confidently booking projects at $5,000 and above. A project proposal does not need to be this long, complicated 25-page document full of mostly useless information. In fact, it should be very short, very simple, and just needs to include these 6 psychological triggers that I'm going to share with you in this video that make clients feel confident in their decision to work with you and just excited to get started. So whether you're a web designer or any type of creative providing a service to clients, by the end of this video, you're going to be able to put together a project proposal that will allow you to confidently raise your rates and get an easy yes from clients without any pushback. So first up, when we're talking about psychological triggers, this isn't about manipulation or tricking clients into saying yes. This is just about understanding how people actually make buying decisions and structuring your proposals in the right way to give them all the information that they need to say yes. The mistake that a lot of people make, especially when you're coming from a very visual or creative industry, is they'll spend hours creating these beautiful documents, obsessing over the branding and the tiny visual details. But the thing that you really need to understand is that there are 3 main psychological barriers that prevent clients from saying yes. And so it doesn't matter how pretty your proposal is, if you don't address these, then you'll probably send out your proposal only to get ghosted and never hear back. So the first barrier that you need to overcome is uncertainty. If there's any doubt about what your client's getting, when they're getting it, or if it will solve their problem, they're going to hesitate. Number 2 is a perceived value. If they don't clearly see how your service will deliver more value than it costs, then they won't buy. And the last one is trust. They need to trust that you are the right person to deliver what you're promising. So with this in mind, let's break down the 6 triggers that move a client from uncertainty to trust and create a proposal that will seal the deal and get people to work with you. So step 1 is desire. The first thing that you really need to understand is what clients actually want. What are they paying for when they hire you to deliver a project? Most creators will make the mistake of jumping straight into what they're going to deliver. So focusing on creating long, detailed lists of deliverables, thinking that the more they put into this service, the more valuable it becomes. But long lists of deliverables don't get clients to say yes. This is not what clients care about. They care about the outcomes. What is this project going to help them do, and what are the results? And so every proposal needs to start with the project goals. And to make this even more powerful, you want to put these goals in your client's own words. And so you should have had a conversation or a sales call with your client before sending over this proposal. If you've never done this before or don't know how to do this, then I have a video breaking down my own script for this here. But in this conversation, you should have asked your client about the goals for this project. And so you want to repeat these goals back to your client in their own words. So this does 2 very powerful things. The first thing it does is create an emotional connection. It shows the client that you are really listening to them. They feel like you really understand what they need, and it builds that trust. And the second is it frames the rest of your proposal as a specific path to help them achieve these goals. It creates a reference point for everything else in your proposal so that your client knows that everything that you've included from this point forward is specifically here to help them achieve these goals. It makes the proposal feel very personal to them, even if this is just a standard template that you send out to everyone. And so what we've done here is create desire, and now what we need to do is create urgency. We want to use this next section to highlight the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. Because what this does is give your client a little nudge to want to take action now rather than wait. And so another question that you should have asked in your initial conversation with the client is, what is currently stopping you from achieving these goals? And what you're trying to do here is get your clients to say their problems out loud, because when they do this, it creates an emotional investment and an urgency to solve these problems. So this next section is where we repeat these problems back to them using their own words. You're not trying to make them feel bad. You're actually just trying to show that you've heard and really understood what they need from this project. Again, you're trying to show your client that this proposal is put together to solve these problems that they're currently struggling with. And by doing this, you're increasing the value of everything else that we're going to include in this next section. And so step 3 is clarity. This is where we want to give clients clarity on exactly what they're getting and when, because clarity is what will build confidence in your service. Now, you want to be careful about how you present this next section, because if you just give a long list of deliverables, this is where you're going to lose people. So there's 3 things that you want to do here. Instead of just a long list of everything included, you want to break these up into transformation stages. Each stage should have a headline or a benefit of what it helps your client do. So for example, instead of logo design, call it unique brand identity. And then for each deliverable, you want to highlight exactly what it helps your client do. So for example, instead of just writing SEO, you want to write search engine optimization, rank higher on Google. Or to give another example, instead of just writing website copywriting, write magnetic messaging, attract and convert your ideal clients. And lastly, you want to include a clear timeline for the project. This gives clients a clear timeline and takes away any uncertainty about when things are going to happen. So in this timeline, there's something extra that I like to include here that I found really impresses clients. For a project to go smoothly and get great results, it has to be a joint effort between you and your client. And so in this timeline, I always include deadlines for what I will deliver and when, but also including client deadlines and exactly what you need from your client at each stage. This type of clarity builds a lot of confidence that you have everything under control, and it's going to be really fun and easy to work with you. All of these three sections work together to make it feel like the value your client is getting from this project is far higher than the investment that they are putting in, so that when your client sees the price, they feel like they're getting a great deal. But you also want to be mindful about how you present this price, because this can have a big impact on the perceived value to your customer. So step 4 is value. When you present the price, there are 3 things that you need to remember. First is always use the word investment instead of price or cost. This just reminds clients that they are investing in results, not just buying deliverables. If it's a very large project with a large investment, then breaking it up into smaller installments makes this feel much more manageable. So for example, if you are charging $10,000, instead of writing that, you write 4 installments of $2,500. And lastly, if you are listing more than one option, you want to limit these to 3 packages maximum. And then you want to place the package that you want your client to choose in the middle. So you have a smaller package on the left, a larger, more expensive premium package on the right, and then the mid-tier package in the middle. The 2 packages on the outside serve as a price anchor that makes the middle package feel like the best value for money. This is something called the Goldilocks effect, where people tend to choose the middle option because it feels just right. Remember, by this point in the proposal, you've already established the value of what you're offering. And so you want to state your prices clearly. Don't try to hide them in a tiny font. Confidence in your rates is what builds trust. So at this point, our client is probably almost sold, but there is one little niggling doubt in the back of their mind. We've created desire by talking about the results we can get them and shown them a clear path to get there. But the last question on your client's mind, stopping them from actually taking action, is why should I trust you? There's still a little bit of uncertainty about whether you are the right person to help them get results. And so step 5 is proof. This section is about making the project feel like a sure thing, that they'll get the results that they want if they choose to work with you. And so we do this by using results and social proof. So for example, client results and testimonials, or portfolio examples. Now, you don't want to go overboard here by including too many examples. This is about quality over quantity. So you want to choose 2 to 3 examples that are most similar to what this client is looking for. If they're a photographer, show a project that you worked on for another photographer. If they want to attract higher budget clients, include a testimonial that specifically mentions attracting higher budget clients. The key is to make the client think, if you help someone like me get this results, then you can probably help me too. And so this removes the final barrier to saying yes and makes your client feel like working with you is a safe decision. Now, even with all of this work that you've done to put together this perfect proposal, there is still the likelihood that you're going to send it over to your client and never hear back. It's happened to me before, and the reality is that if you send this over and the client hasn't signed the contract and paid the invoice within 24 hours, then it's most likely that you've lost this client and they're probably ghosting you. And so this last section is very important. You want your client to take immediate action instead of just thinking about it, which usually means that you're never going to hear from them again. And so to do this, we need to create urgency while also making the next steps feel easy and effortless. We want to end our proposal by making it crystal clear what we want them to do next, and then make the next steps as seamless as possible. So you want to remove any additional steps or unclear instructions that creates friction that will stop your client from taking action. And so ideally, on the last page of your proposal, you want to attach direct links so that they're able to sign their contract and pay their invoice with one click without any further back and forth. You can do this by using tools like DocuSign or Dubsado for creating your contract. And for invoices, you can use a payment platform like Stripe. And then you want to give your client a little nudge to do this quickly by creating a sense of urgency. And this doesn't have to be pushy or icky. A really easy way to do this is simply by adding a line that says, we will hold this spot in our calendar for the next 48 hours. Please sign your contract and pay your invoice to secure your project date and get started. It's as simple as that. You're just setting a boundary and asking your client to respect your time. At this point, with everything else that we've put together in this proposal, if this project is a good fit, then your client should be excited and ready to take that next step to work with you. But before you send this over to them, there is one final thing that I like to do that will dramatically increase your chance of closing this client with very little extra effort from you. So before I send this over, I record a quick personalized video. I use Loom for this, and it really doesn't have to be long, just 2 or 3 minutes, giving a personalized message, letting the client know that you're excited about the project, and then just showing them the different parts of the proposal. You want your proposal to feel very personal. It shows your client that you're willing to go above and beyond and you actually care about their success. And this can seem like a lot of effort for a client who may or may not say yes to a project, but putting together this proposal and filming this short video shouldn't actually take longer than 10 to 20 minutes. You can use the same template every time and then just customize enough details that it feels personal to the client. You should never be putting this together from scratch for every single client. At every stage of your client process, you want to be creating templates that you reuse for every single client. So you can find all the templates that I use in my own client process from start to finish in this video here.